You check your phone. Nothing. You scroll through social media and encounter images of groups gathered together, laughing, drinking, connecting, and you feel a cold, heavy weight settle in your chest. A specific kind of silence that has no name but is immediately recognizable to anyone who has carried it. Society interprets this silence as a symptom. It informs you that if you are alone, you are defective, that you are antisocial, that you have failed the most fundamental test of human existence. They call you a loner, an outcast, a person who somehow couldn't manage what everyone else seems to do effortlessly. But they are wrong. And if you have ever suspected they were wrong, this video will confirm something you have known about yourself for a very long time. What if your solitude is not a defect, but a defense mechanism? What if the reason you have few or no friends isn't because you are incapable of genuine connection, but because your psychology is fundamentally wired to reject the artificial? There is a concept in evolutionary psychology called the apex paradox. It states that as an organism becomes more specialized, more efficient, and more precisely adapted to its environment, its circle naturally contracts. The sheep herds together in the hundreds. The lion operates within a pride. But the tiger moves alone. And the tiger does not interpret this as failure. It interprets it as design. If you are watching this, you have likely felt out of place for most of your conscious life. You have attempted to fit in. You have worn the mask they handed you at the door. But it never sits correctly. It slides. You are here because something in you suspects there is a fundamental difference in the way your mind encounters and processes the world. You are right. And today we are going to examine exactly what that difference consists of. The 7 rare traits found consistently in people who walk alone. These are not personality quirks or social deficiencies. These are evolutionary adaptations. By the time this is finished, you will understand precisely why your circle is small, why your standards are genuinely intimidating to average people, and why your solitude is not your weakness. It is your most formidable asset. Subscribe to Carl Jung Psychology right now if you have ever felt that the loneliness you carry is somehow different from the loneliness other people describe. Heavier, more specific, more like a form of clarity than a form of loss. What follows will give you the psychological language for what you have been living without being able to name. The first trait is hyperacute pattern recognition. Most people move through their social interactions in a state of comfortable unconsciousness. They receive words at face value. I love you. I support you. We are friends. They accept these declarations without examination because acceptance is comfortable and easy. You cannot do this. Not because you choose not to, but because your neural architecture makes surface-level acceptance genuinely impossible. If you have few or no friends, it is likely because you carry the specific gift and burden of hyperacute pattern recognition. Your mind does not process what people say. It analyzes what they do. It tracks micro-expressions, subtle tonal variations, and the precise timing between stimulus and response. Psychologists refer to this as thin slicing. the capacity to identify reliable patterns from extremely narrow windows of behavioral data. When someone compliments you, but their eyes fail to produce the involuntary muscular contraction that accompanies genuine warmth, you register the envy beneath the words. When someone agrees with your position, but their vocal pitch rises fractionally at the end of the sentence, you hear the concealed disagreement. You perceive the shadow operating behind the presented mask. For the average person, a social gathering functions as an enjoyable exchange of energy and connection. For you, it presents itself as an overwhelming, chaotic stream of contradictory data. You are watching people perform. You are observing them suppress their authentic reactions in real time to maintain their position within the social hierarchy. And because you see the performance with such clarity, you find it nearly impossible to participate in it with any sincerity. It feels like being asked to act in a theatrical production where everyone else knows their lines, is comfortable with the fiction, and genuinely enjoys the applause, while you are standing in the wings aware that none of it is real. This makes you genuinely dangerous to be around, because people who have constructed their entire social existence within comfortable denial develop an instinctive hostility toward anyone who demonstrates the capacity to see through it. When you are present in a group, you frequently remain quiet, not from shyness, but from the act of sustained observation. And people feel that observation. It creates unease they cannot identify or articulate. They will call you judgmental. They will describe you as intense. They will say you are difficult to read. What they are actually communicating is this: you function as a mirror, and they do not welcome their own reflection. If you have lost friendships, consider this question carefully. Did you lose those people, or did you expose them? Did they depart because you were toxic, or did they retreat because you were the only person in the circle who refused to validate the performance? Your solitude is the price of your perceptual clarity. You carry what functions as an autoimmune response to inauthenticity. While others can absorb the low-grade poison of artificial interaction without visible distress, your system rejects it immediately and completely. You are not lonely. You are simply incapable of being deceived at close range. And in a social world constructed almost entirely from comfortable fictions, that incapacity carries a significant cost. The second trait is intolerance for social entropy. In physics, entropy describes the universal tendency of systems to progress toward disorder, randomness, and noise. The overwhelming majority of social interaction is precisely that: entropy. How is the weather? Did you catch the game? I cannot stand my supervisor. These are recycled fragments of dead information circulating in a loop with no destination. If you have few friends, it is because you possess what psychologists call a high need for cognition, a trait that operates not merely as intellectual preference, but as a biological imperative. Research in personality psychology demonstrates consistently that individuals with high openness and high sustained intellect experience genuine physiological discomfort when required to engage in shallow interaction for extended periods. It depletes dopamine. It elevates cortisol. Small talk, to you, is not a social courtesy. It is a form of extraction. It removes your time and returns nothing of equivalent value. Most of the social world operates at the level of survival, safety, and belonging. The conversations that dominate this level concern other people's behavior, recent events, and the management of immediate discomfort. You operate at a different altitude entirely, the territory of self-actualization, creative synthesis, and transcendence. You want to engage with ideas. You want to trace the trajectory of civilizations. You want to examine the mechanics of consciousness, the architecture of power, the nature of meaning itself. When you introduce these currents into a standard social gathering, what you encounter is silence, visible discomfort, and a rapid collective retreat to something safer. You are assessed as too intense, too serious, too much. So you are presented with a fundamental choice.
You can deliberately diminish yourself, suppress your actual intellectual range, perform enthusiasm for topics that genuinely bore you, pretend that the mundane registers as significant in order to maintain social proximity to people who require that performance from you. Or you can remain silent and authentic and accept the resulting solitude. Most people select the diminishment. They choose the warmth of a crowd over the integrity of their own interior world. You selected the silence. This is not arrogance. It is the economics of finite energy applied with rigorous honesty. You recognized at some point that may predate your ability to articulate it, that you possess a limited reserve of cognitive and emotional capacity. Allocating that reserve to social entropy produces a consistent negative return. You are drawn toward depth the way a compass is drawn toward north, not by choice, but by composition. You want the conversation that begins at midnight and has not resolved itself by dawn. The examination of mortality, the deconstruction of belief, the honest reckoning with failure and ambition and fear. And because the vast majority of people are genuinely frightened of those depths, the vast majority of people will never be capable of the friendship you actually require. You are a deep-sea organism attempting to form bonds in a world populated almost exclusively by creatures adapted to shallow water. Do not apologize for the depth you require. The ocean does not offer apologies for its darkness simply because some swimmers prefer to stand. The third trait is the autoimmune response to control. What is frequently diagnosed as oppositional behavior in children reveals itself in psychologically sophisticated adults who have learned to channel it precisely as the defining characteristic of genuine intellectual independence. It is the fundamental refusal to submit to arbitrary authority, the inability to accept directives that have not been earned through demonstrated competence or logical validity. Most social circles are not the democracies they present themselves as. They are microsystems of enforced conformity operating through unspoken rules and the threat of exclusion. We have designated this person as an enemy, and your membership in this circle requires you to share that designation. We hold these particular political positions, and your continued inclusion depends on your visible alignment. We are gathering tonight, and your absence will be interpreted as rejection. This is the herd instinct, the evolutionary drive to remain within the group regardless of whether the group's direction is rational or beneficial. The Ash conformity experiments demonstrated that approximately 75% of individuals
will openly affirm an obvious factual falsehood if the social group around them insists upon it. They will look at the shorter line and declare it longer because the cost of accurate perception is exclusion, and exclusion registers in the human nervous system as a survival threat. You are in the remaining 25%. When a social circle presents you with its implicit demand for compliance, your nervous system registers a threat response. But the threat it identifies is not exclusion. It is captivity. You experience the herd not as safety, but as suffocation. You cannot extend genuine respect to a person simply because they have accumulated social popularity. You cannot adopt a position simply because it has achieved cultural momentum. You require logic. You require demonstrable evidence. You require that ideas earn their place through validity rather than through social consensus. This makes you a fundamentally incompatible companion for individuals who organize their identity around the management of other people's behavior.
When someone presents a complaint designed to elicit your validation of their victimhood, you do not deliver the expected response. You ask what they intend to do about the situation. You fracture the contract of mutual reinforcement. And when that contract breaks, you become the antagonist in a narrative you never agreed to participate in. Being cast as the antagonist in a story written by someone who requires the fiction of their own victimhood to remain intact is not a social failure. It is confirmation that your perception of reality has remained uncorrupted. You are alone not because you failed the social test. You are alone because you refused to take it on terms designed to ensure a particular outcome. If what you are encountering in this video is producing a specific kind of recognition, the sensation of hearing something articulated that you have known for years without having the precise words for it, leave the number 11 in the comments. In the psychological framework of individuation that Carl Jung devoted his career to mapping, 11 represents the precise threshold at which a developing consciousness crosses from performed selfhood into authentic selfhood. It is the number of the person who has stopped accepting external definitions of their own interior experience. If that threshold is where you currently stand, mark it. You may find that others in the Carl Jung psychology community are standing at exactly the same point. And that recognition, even between strangers, carries its own form of the connection you have been searching for. The fourth trait is the architect's obsession. Most people treat the span of their life as an extended waiting room. They are waiting for Friday, waiting for the vacation, waiting for retirement. They deploy their friendships as instruments for the management of time, companions in the project of making the interval between birth and death feel less empty. You experience the passage of time differently. You feel its movement the way you feel the pressure of a wound, constantly, urgently, with a clarity that prevents the comfortable numbness most people carry through their days. You are not here to wait. You are here to construct something. Whether the construction involves a business, a body of creative work, an intellectual framework, a physical transformation, or a spiritual architecture, you are possessed by a vision of what you could become that makes the management of idle time feel like a form of violence against yourself. Neuroscience has established that the brain operates in two primary and mutually exclusive modes.
The default mode network governs social processing, self-referential thought, and the mental wandering associated with memory and anticipation. The task-positive network governs deep, sustained focus, the flow state, and the precise execution that genuine creation requires. These networks are anti-correlated. When one is fully engaged, the other is suppressed. This is not a personal limitation, it is neurological architecture. The person building something of genuine significance and the person maintaining an active and demanding social life are operating at the neurological level in fundamental opposition to each other. History is populated with individuals of extraordinary creative and intellectual output who maintained minimal social lives and did not experience this as deprivation. Tesla, Newton, Michelangelo, Kafka. They were not compensating for social failure with productivity. They were following the same gravitational pull you feel, the pull toward the work, toward the construction, toward the thing that will still exist after the conversations have dissolved into silence and the social hierarchies have rearranged themselves again.
Every hour you invest in an environment that demands your performance, of interest in things that do not interest you, is an hour permanently diverted from the version of yourself you are attempting to build. At some point, you began calculating this with honesty, and the calculations changed your behavior. You started declining. The invitations eventually ceased. This was not social rejection. This was the filtration system executing its function with precision. If you currently have no friends, it is possible that you are in the phase Carl Jung described as the period of interior reorganization. The phase during which the caterpillar does not merely change, but completely dissolves within the cocoon before reconstituting itself into something capable of entirely different movement. The caterpillar has no social life inside the cocoon. It has no companions in the dissolution. It exists in a state of total darkness and total transformation simultaneously. If that is the phase you are currently inhabiting, your solitude is not an accident of circumstance. It is a biological necessity. Do not allow the social world to extract you from your cocoon before the reconstruction is complete. The friendships you released during your building phase were never architecturally compatible with what you are building toward. They were designed for the structure that existed before. The fifth trait is what Jungian psychology identifies as the unconscious mirror effect. Have you ever entered a room, contributed nothing to the existing dynamic, said almost nothing, and registered that people had formed a negative impression of you before you opened your mouth? Have you been targeted by controlling or manipulative personalities for reasons that appeared to have no logical foundation? This is not evidence of your unworthiness. It is evidence of a specific psychological phenomenon. People who carry high self-awareness and low social dependency function in the presence of others as a blank, reflective surface. They become screens upon which others unconsciously project their own unintegrated psychological material. This is the Jungian concept of the shadow, the repository of everything the conscious ego has rejected, denied, and refused to acknowledge about itself. When a person who has constructed their entire social identity around performance, approval seeking,
and the management of others' perceptions encounters someone who is quiet, internally stable, and genuinely self-sufficient, they do not perceive the actual person standing before them. They perceive a reflection of the dimensions of themselves they have most actively worked to conceal. Your stillness confronts them with the noise of their own interior. Your self-sufficiency exposes the nature of their dependency. You become a living demonstration of the distance between who they present themselves as and who they actually are. Because the human ego cannot sustain the experience of that recognition without converting it into something more manageable, it converts shame into aggression. They attack the mirror as a means of destroying the reflection. Understanding this does not make the experience painless, but it permanently recontextualizes it. Most of the friendships you have observed in the social world around you are constructed from mutual validation agreements. I will confirm your version of events if you confirm mine. I will support your narrative of victimhood if you support mine. I will tell you that you are right if you tell me that I am. These are not friendships. They are transactional arrangements disguised as emotional intimacy. When someone arrives in your presence carrying one of these arrangements and extends the offer, and you decline, not through cruelty, but through the simple inability to validate what you can clearly see is inaccurate, you dissolve the foundation the arrangement was built upon, and you become, in the story they subsequently construct about the interaction, the problem. Being the identified problem in a narrative built on shared delusion is not a social failure. It is confirmation that your perception has remained intact. Leave the number 520 in the comments if this specific experience, being inexplicably targeted or excluded by people whose internal lives you could read with uncomfortable accuracy, has been a recurring feature of your social history. In quantum field models of consciousness, 520 marks the resonance frequency of a system that has achieved internal coherence in an environment characterized by external chaos. It is the signature of a mind that has stopped attempting to reduce its own signal to match the surrounding noise. If that describes your position, mark it below. The Carl Jung psychology community has become a gathering point for people navigating exactly this territory, and the recognition between them carries its own form of meaning. The sixth trait is temporal displacement. The culture surrounding you is organized almost entirely around the immediate present. Instant gratification, the next stimulus, the management of this moment's discomfort. The people around you live primarily in the now, not through philosophical choice, but through the path of least cognitive resistance. You live primarily in the future. This is a trait found consistently in high-level strategic thinkers, genuine visionaries, and, paradoxically, in people whose anxiety has been pathologized when it is actually a form of extremely accurate, long-range threat assessment. You are perpetually simulating future timelines with a degree of detail and accuracy that most people cannot access because most people are not operating their cognition at the altitude required to see that far ahead. When the people around you say, "Let's simply enjoy tonight and not concern ourselves with tomorrow," something in you registers genuine alarm, because you can see the tomorrow they are dismissing with a clarity they cannot access. You perceive the consequences of the habits being formed today. You see where the trajectory leads, not with pessimism, but with the specific, uncomfortable precision of a navigator who can read the instruments. This constitutes temporal displacement, the experience of living mentally and emotionally in a time frame 5, 10, 20 years ahead of the people immediately surrounding you. The practical result of this displacement is that genuine connection becomes nearly impossible, because genuine connection requires a degree of shared temporal orientation. You cannot fully synchronize with someone whose entire concern is the management of this week's social dynamics when your attention is trained on the trajectory of your decade, your civilization, your species. This creates what might be called the isolation of the watchman, the person stationed at the highest point of the wall, scanning the horizon for what has not yet arrived, while the majority of the population rests comfortably in the structures below, untroubled by futures they cannot yet perceive. They will call you anxious. They will call you impossibly serious. They will suggest that you need to learn to relax. Until the thing you perceived arrives and they find themselves unprepared for it. Then they want your foresight. They want your frameworks. They want to be near the person who saw it coming. But by that point, you have usually arrived at the recognition that you cannot carry people who refused every opportunity to open their eyes. You walk toward the future alone, or you remain in the past with those who chose it. You selected the future, and the future is a solitary location because most people have not yet reached it. The seventh trait, the rarest and most consequential of all 7, is the autotelic personality, the internal engine. The majority of human beings operate as external combustion systems. To generate forward movement, they require fuel from outside themselves. Compliments, attention, validation. The witnessed acknowledgement of their existence by other people who confirm through their responses that the person in question is real, significant, and worthy of continued investment. Remove this external fuel source and the system stalls. You are different in a way that is not merely a matter of degree, but of fundamental architecture. You are an internally powered system. Your fuel is generated from within the activity itself. Psychology defines the autotelic personality as an individual who locates purpose and genuine satisfaction in the inherent nature of the process, not in the external recognition or reward the process might eventually produce. You do not pursue understanding for the approval that demonstrated intelligence sometimes attracts. You pursue it because the absence of understanding is experienced as an active discomfort that demands resolution. You do not train your body for the social currency that physical capability can generate. You do it because you require the felt sense of your own strength as evidence that you are becoming what you are capable of becoming. You create because the unrealized idea produces something in your interior that functions like pressure, a demand for expression that does not diminish when ignored, but intensifies. This makes you immune to the primary instrument through which organized social systems exercise control over individual behavior, the threat of exclusion. Society manages the majority through the implicit promise that compliance will be rewarded with belonging and the implicit threat that deviation will result in isolation. This mechanism functions with extraordinary effectiveness on people whose sense of reality depends on continuous external validation. When they attempt to apply this mechanism to you, it finds no purchase. They say, "We will withdraw our attention," and you discover,
To their visible confusion and your own quiet relief, that the withdrawal of their attention creates space rather than deprivation. They say you will be alone, and you respond with honesty that you have been most fully yourself precisely in that condition. This terrifies them in a way that simple social defiance never could. A person who does not require others is a person who cannot be managed through the standard instruments of social leverage. You represent a fundamental disruption to the power dynamics most social systems depend upon for their stability. They cannot offer you the reward of inclusion, because inclusion is not something you experience as scarce. They cannot threaten you with the punishment of exclusion, because exclusion is something you have repeatedly discovered to be generative rather than destructive. You are, from the perspective of a system built on manufactured social dependency, an anomaly that the system cannot accommodate without acknowledging its own architecture. And systems do not willingly examine their own architecture. Now observe the complete pattern of what these 7 traits construct when they operate in a single individual simultaneously. The perceptual clarity that sees through performance. The intellectual depth that refuses to settle for the shallow. The psychological sovereignty that rejects arbitrary compliance. The creative obsession that prioritizes construction over social management. The reflective presence that forces others to confront themselves. The temporal range that perceives futures the present cannot yet accommodate. The internal sufficiency that requires nothing from the crowd. Assembled together, these traits do not produce a loner. They do not produce a failure of social development. They produce something the domesticated social world has no framework for accommodating. A mind that has not been successfully assimilated into the machinery of manufactured consensus.
Society functions as a sophisticated system of behavioral conditioning. Education trains repetition and compliance. Professional environments train obedience to hierarchy. Media trains the management of desire through manufactured comparison. Social circles train conformity through the constant calibration of individual behavior against group expectations. You failed this training, not through incapacity, but through incompatibility. Your fundamental architecture rejected the update. And because you could not be made domestic, you were gradually moved toward the margins. Not through any single dramatic act of exclusion, but through the slow accumulation of 1,000 small moments in which you declined to perform what was being silently requested of you. You are the wolf that would not accept the collar, sitting now at the edge of the firelight and examining the structures within it with a clarity that the structures themselves do not permit. Stop interpreting this as evidence of your inadequacy. You are not outside the village because you failed to qualify for admission. You are outside it because the village was constructed to accommodate a different kind of animal. But there is a danger that must be named with complete honesty. When the isolation extends for long enough, the mind begins to direct its intensity inward in ways that are not productive. You begin to internalize the narrative of the rejection. You begin to wonder whether the assessments of the crowd contain more accuracy than you initially allowed. You begin to soften the edges of your actual requirements, not because they have genuinely changed, but because the accumulated weight of prolonged solitude has produced a kind of desperation that lowers the threshold of what feels acceptable.
You let someone into your proximity who would not have cleared your actual standards, not because they have earned that proximity, but because the silence has become heavy enough to make the company of a wrong person feel preferable to no person. Do not do this. When a wolf attempts to perform as a sheep, it deceives no one. The sheep are not fooled. They are terrified. And the wolf starves to death in the performance. If you reduce your actual frequency to match the frequency of people who are not built for the depth you require, you will not find the connection you are searching for. You will find interference. You will feel more profoundly alone in a room full of people whose company requires you to suppress your actual self than you would feel in genuine solitude. The loneliness of the mask is exponentially heavier than the loneliness of the open space. The solution is a radical reorientation of your relationship to solitude itself. Stop perceiving it as a sentence and begin treating it as a laboratory. This is the period of concentrated interior development. If you have no friends right now, you have been given something that most people in the history of human civilization have had to fight extraordinary battles to secure: uninterrupted time and genuine silence. These are the precise conditions under which the most significant human development occurs. Do not waste them on self-pity. Do not spend them waiting for rescue from the outside. Maintain your actual standards without apology or qualification. If what you require for genuine friendship is depth, loyalty, and the capacity for honest reckoning with difficult reality, and you cannot locate it, you wait. You do not consume whatever is available simply because hunger has made you less selective. The moment you lower your genuine requirements, you communicate to your own psychology and to the universe that has been arranging the conditions of your development that you are willing to accept substitutes. You will receive exactly what you have communicated your willingness to accept. Stand in the void. Be genuinely willing to walk alone for whatever duration the process requires. One person who fully comprehends the nature of what you are building is worth an entire social world populated by people who are simply managing their own discomfort in your presence. Become the signal rather than the searcher. A lighthouse does not circumnavigate the coastline searching for ships. It stands at maximum height and produces maximum light. The ships navigate toward it. How do you generate the signal that reaches the people built to receive it? By building what you are here to build with the full force of everything you have. By speaking with precision and honesty about what you actually think. By becoming undeniably excellent in the domain that is genuinely yours. When you reach the level of development at which your presence cannot be ignored by people operating at equivalent depth, you become visible to the other wolves.
Your future genuine connections are not in the environments you have already searched. They are in environments you have not yet reached. They are working. They are building. They are waiting, exactly as you are, for someone operating at a level capable of recognizing them. The only way to reach them is to rise until you are visible from their position. And while you are rising, learn to move through the ordinary social world without conflict. You are not obligated to announce your nature to people who are not equipped to receive the information. Be courteous. Be warm in the ways that cost you nothing authentic. Use the surface-level interactions as exercises in perceptual acuity rather than as sources of genuine nourishment. You are an observer moving through territory. Observe it. Do not mistake it for home. Leave 777 in the comments if something in this video has produced the specific internal shift of recognition, the sensation of a framework finally being placed around an experience you have been carrying without adequate language. In the intersection of Jungian individuation theory and quantum models of coherent self-organization, 777 marks the frequency of a psyche that has successfully completed a fundamental interior reorientation and is now operating from a position of genuine self-knowledge rather than externally assigned identity. If that reorientation is what you are currently experiencing, mark it below. And subscribe to Carl Jung Psychology, because the content that follows this goes considerably deeper into the psychological architecture of the person who walks alone, the specific Jungian frameworks for navigating the individuation process, and the precise nature of the connections that become available on the other side of it. The path you are walking is not the path of maximum comfort. It is the path of maximum meaning. Comfort is accessible. You can purchase a version of it with a lowered standard and a manufactured smile and the performance of a self that fits more easily into the available spaces. Meaning is the most expensive thing available to a human being. It costs you the warmth of the herd. It costs you the comfort of shared delusion. It costs you the relief of belonging to something that asks nothing genuinely difficult of you. But what it returns is a life that is unambiguously yours, constructed by your actual choices, rather than assembled from the expectations of people whose primary requirement was your compliance. Most people reach the end of their lives having inhabited a script they did not write. They depart from the world surrounded by witnesses, but strangers to themselves. You may walk alone. There will be periods of genuine cold in that walking. But when you face yourself honestly, what you encounter is a human being in full possession of their own interior, not a reflection of someone else's idea of what you should be. And that specific possession of your own actual mind, your own genuine perception, your own uncompromised soul, is not something that any social arrangement can provide, or any social exclusion can take away. The empty chair across from you is not evidence of your failure. It is not a verdict on your worth or your capacity for connection. It is a reservation. It is held for the specific quality of loyalty, truth, and genuine mutual recognition that you have refused to replace with substitutes. Honor it. Honor the silence surrounding it. Because in that silence, You are developing the interior capacity to sustain a conversation that can actually change something in yourself, in the person across from you, and in the larger world that needs people who refused to be made small. You are not the last one to arrive. You are the first one at the meeting point. The others are coming, but they find only those who demonstrated the capacity to endure the weight without abandoning themselves. So endure it. Stay intact, and we will see you on the other side.